everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Jays Today Show, where today, guys, we got some pretty fun and interesting reports coming from Jon Heyman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We know him, we want him to be a Blue Jay for life, and apparently the Toronto Blue Jays are expected to go into some deeper conversations with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. about an extension this coming winter, because as we all know, if that doesn't happen this winter, it might not happen until he hits free agency. So you got to get it done, Ross, or whoever is going to manage the Toronto Blue Jays this offseason. And as well, we'll talk about some other exciting Blue Jays that are doing well and some that are not. Let's get into it. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Paleolog. And this really should be a no-brainer. In fact, I don't even think that we should be having to talk about this. You know, like you think about other teams around the league, not even just in baseball, but just other teams, right? When you have somebody of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s potential and, talent, what he's doing on the field right now, you just sign him to forever. And that's what you do. There is no conversation about, oh, maybe we got to wait until free agency, or, oh, we're not really sure, or what. No, none of that. You get the deal done. And the fact that we've even had to, get to a place like this right now where we are talking about it because Ross Atkins has come out and made comments about how, well, we still think we can get an extension done in free agency, or, maybe just before free. No, fuck all of that.
Yeah.
This is the offseason. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is your guy. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't even attempted it already. I mean, there's a lot of people in the comments that I tweeted out this morning that report, and people were replying saying, well, why not now? Why not now? There's nothing going on. You just saw Matt Chapman get extended.
That's very true.
You just saw Matt Chapman get extended, and he made like one comment saying, I'm comfortable here. Boom, immediate extension, $151 million. Where's the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension after countless times of him saying, I want to be a Blue Jay for the rest of my career? And he's way more talented than Matt Chapman. We can all agree on that. So where's the extension? But it should be happening this winter. This is the report, everybody, in case you missed it. Jon Heyman on the New York Post said that the Blue Jays are expected to try to lock up superstar first baseman / third baseman, I love that that's in his title now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this winter. And though they have a better shot at Guerrero than co-star Bo Bichette, they will need to step up efforts to keep Guerrero, who's in great shape and near back to his MVP level. So when he says step up efforts to keep Guerrero, I mean, I think we all can agree. I mean, you got to have more conversations. It feels like they're not really doing much.
Well, here's the thing. We really don't know how much communication is going back and forth between the two sides, between the two parties. What we do know is that the limited communication that has transpired, it's not amounting to anything. We have heard before that, talks have happened and they're not close, right? I think that there was a report that came out just before the trade deadline actually talking about how they're not close on anything, right? We are seeing him play at an MVP level right now. Ever since cutting his hair, he's been phenomenal. You look over at the second half, right? And at this point, it's like we're almost just, we're kind of taking it for granted, and we're watching these other young guys play and stuff, and Vlad's just like, oh yeah, he's going to do what he does.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that what he's doing is fucking insane, guys. He's got a .419 batting average, an on-base of .489, a slugging of .813, and an OPS of 1.302. That's in the second half right there. Actually, the second best, because Aaron Judge is phenomenal.
They're neck and neck. They're neck and neck.
But since the second half, since the All-Star break, Guerrero has been incredible. I tweeted out the other day talking about how he was catching up to Bobby Witt Jr. Over the last 30 days, Guerrero leads MLB batting .376. Well, roughly 70 points higher than what Bobby Witt Jr. is doing right now. So there's a real chance that Vladdy could finish with the batting title along with a phenomenal season. So across the board right now, everything is looking good. You got to step up your efforts from whatever number you're at right now, because clearly it is not enough.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment about the Bobby Witt thing. Even better, in 42 games, .419 batting average.
There you go.
That is correct for everybody. But yeah, they got to step up the efforts, and they know the price tag is rising with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, in this offseason, I saw someone comment earlier, and it really got me thinking, if we were to sign Vladdy before this season. Granted, I think we were all kind of hesitant to sign Vladimir
Yeah,
this season.
I personally wouldn't have been down for that yet.
But let's say they did. Like, what was the price tag? It was under $300 million. I think we're all kind of on the same boat. If they were to sign him to an under the $300 million mark, and then he does what he does this season, you'd be laughing your ass off.
Yeah.
But it ain't going to be like that, everybody. I think we all can agree it's going to be well over $300 million. And even in Jon Heyman's post here, he compares Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a Rafael Devers, which we've always kind of compared them. Very similar ages when they're looking to get their extensions done. They were doing very similar numbers, played corner infield. So there's a lot of comparisons between the two guys. And Rafael Devers got $313.5 million for 10 years. I've got their numbers here because we've been comparing them for so long. Yes, over here you've got more WAR, more hits, more homers, more RBIs, more stolen bases and all that, more games played by Rafael Devers. But if you look at the slash line, you've got a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that's putting up some pretty ungodly numbers, and the OPS plus is a bit better. So, and of course, inflation or rising of price tags. Are you expecting Vladdy to get more than a Rafael Devers?
Probably a little bit. You know, I don't think it's going to be crazy numbers here. Like, the more I think about it, you know, the more that you look around the league, I personally don't think that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to touch the $400 million mark, and that is something that's been rumored and reported. You know, I think that the numbers are starting to kind of get to ungodly levels because we saw what happened with Shohei Ohtani that past offseason, and because what is going to transpire here with Juan Soto. It feels like we can just throw out these fucking ridiculous numbers, and it's like, right. Oh yeah, that, you know, well, there's precedent for that now. Yes, but that's Shohei Ohtani and that's Juan Soto. I think that majority of teams do not want to get up to that $400 million or more mark. So I don't think that he's going to reach that level. I do think that there will be some slight inflation from that Rafael Devers contract. Devers, how many years was that? Was it 10?
10 years.
10 years, 313. I would say if you're going to get him to a 10-year deal, I think that you might be looking at 340, right? You know, $34 million average annual value. Maybe Guerrero pushes it up to 350. I personally don't see it going further than 350. I guess maybe if you get him to like 12 or 13 or 14 years or whatever the term is. You know, if you're signing him to his age 40 season, like maybe. But I personally am seeing this Vladimir Guerrero Jr. contract where I would be comfortable with it. 330, 340, 10, 11 years. You know, you lock him down for forever. This is our guy. Let's now build a team around him.
Yeah, you have to do that numbers right out of the gate because, again, like if you're not offering that ballpark, he's going to go to free agency and get that price tag driven up by other competitors. Like, sure, he might want to stay here if he were to reach free agency. But if he wants to get his price and stay in Toronto, well, the only way to do it is to go get other teams, be like, hey, Toronto, they're offering me what you didn't offer me, so offer me this or I walk. So you have to offer him what he's expecting to get right out of the gate this free agency.
And also, too, like, just because he wants to stay here, I mean, like, that's phenomenal, but that doesn't mean that we necessarily have a bunch more leverage here, right? Yes, he would prefer to stay in Toronto, but at the end of the day, you know, if this other squad is going to offer him $30 or $40 million more than the Toronto Blue Jays right now, we got to think about it. Is his loyalty with, you know, the Toronto Blue Jays, or is his loyalty with the future generations of his family that will now have generational wealth because he's going to be one of the most highest paid baseball players, right? Like,
forget the fact that his dad also has
that as well.
Generational wealth.
Yes, but, you know, now we're going to be even more fucking rich. Like, we can own the fucking Dominican Republic if we so desire. You know what I mean? It's like, there are things to consider here rather than just, oh, yeah, I want to stay in Toronto. You can't lowball him to, like, $250 million just because that's the case. You got to treat this guy with respect. He's really the only player on this squad right now that is, you know, kind of deserving of a championship run. Make him your guy. Obviously, they're going to try to do it, but wherever they're at right now, I'm not sure where that is. Wherever it is not close enough. So you got to get there.
Yeah, it's got to happen. I know I mentioned Ross Atkins off the top, and if it's going to be Ross Atkins, I mean, look, in order to save your job, Ross, and a lot of speculation right now is like, Ross Atkins might be staying. If you really want to stay and win some brownie points with your fans, you'll sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's a no-brainer. Low-hanging fruit for saving your job.
And here's the thing, right? It shouldn't even be that. Like, that should be a given. When you look around when you look around sports in general, when you have a player of that caliber, And that's really the only player. Like, it's not like you got a bunch of other guys that you got to, juggle here and decide to sign.
Vladdy,
you know what I mean? It's like, I can understand how if Bichette was playing at this caliber as well, and, there was somebody else playing at this caliber, it's like, okay, we got to juggle all this. Well, maybe we got to sign this guy. It makes it a lot more complicated. But that is the only player right now that you have that is performing even remotely close to that level. We're in MVP conversations right now. We are having one of the best second halves of all time. You could win the batting title as well as have an OPS closing in on that 1 mark. So this should be a given. You're talking about your version of Austin Matthews, your version of, whoever you want to compare it to. Get him paid.
Yeah, and very rarely, when was the last time you saw a Blue Jay get drafted and actually finish his career here with over 20 years? I don't think there's actually one.
I know.
I actually don't think. If anyone knows one, let me know. I mean, Roy Halladay was supposed to be that dude, but obviously went over to Philadelphia. But I actually don't see one. Does anyone know one? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, and that's you know what, and that's another thing from a legacy standpoint of Ross Atkins. If you're not going to win, if you're not going to bring this team to the postseason, or get us a chip or anything like that, well, you could argue that the next best thing is to give us a hero, right? And when it's all said and done, if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signs himself to a 10-year, 11-year extension, and we assume that, I'm not going to assume that he goes on to win 3 MVPs or something like that, but we assume that he has a very, solid career throughout the entire tenure that he has with Toronto, you could be looking at, when it's all said and done, the war leader of the Toronto Blue Jays, one of the greatest Toronto Blue Jays to ever go down in the history of the team, right? You could be looking at that, and that's something that Ross Atkins can go, you know what? I gave us our best player ever.
Yeah,
I kept him there for all time.
He's going up on the level of excellence. I guarantee if he's a Blue Jay for life and, wins an MVP, or maybe we even go on some deep playoff runs for a stretch there, which would be expected if you were to sign him and build around him. I mean, yeah, I think you retire his jersey. That's the level that we're talking about. And that legacy could be built by you. But does that save his job? I don't think so. I mean,
okay. Ultimately, I personally don't think it should save his job, and that's because I think that this should be a given. Yes, I understand there's a lot more to these negotiations than just on the surface level what we're talking about here, but it kind of seems easy, right? You got a guy that's playing incredible, that's said time and time again that he wants to be here. It should be a given. Anybody in their right mind gets it done. So I personally don't think it should save his job.
Right.
I think he needs to go above and beyond, in my opinion. You extend Guerrero and you get XYZ, and you trade for this guy, or something like that, right? It's got to be above and beyond, because Guerrero, for me, extending Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the fucking bare minimum.
That's the number one. That's my number one. I keep saying in the description, that's my number one target not target, but number one objective this offseason. It's go to extend Vladdy, now make moves. Because if you don't extend Vladdy, well, what window are we really painting for 2025? Are we painting let's compile in as much value, into this 1 year window of Vladdy, and then we'll figure it out after that? Or if you extend Vladdy, well, now you have the freedom to go into free agency knowing, well, now I have this core locked down, that this window has just opened up a little bit more. It cracked open a little bit more down the stretch. Now I can go add players 4-year contracts, 5-year contracts, whatever it might be, and feel good about it, knowing that I'm building a more of a sustained core with my lineup.
Absolutely, right? I mean, you gotta crawl before you can walk, before you can run. Right now, the Toronto Blue Jays, we might not even be fucking crawling, but we need that foundation. You gotta build on something right here. And, to not have that guy locked down, if you don't have that guy, who are the stable, locked in players for you right now?
It's
George Springer.
It's your rookies.
Dalton Varsho.
Your rookies.
And that's the thing. But what I mean by that is I can't count on those. I can't lock them in and be like,
no.
You know what? Spencer Horwitz, guaranteed he's going to have an all-star season. Yeah. I can't say that about him yet.
As much as we love the boys that are doing well, the young guys, the rookies, the AAA Buffalo guys, it's such a small sample size, and we're actually going to transition on a little bit and talk about one of them, but it's such a small sample size that, yes, it's exciting, but you can't go into 2025 thinking, okay, that's a locked-in position. I've said this on a live stream, anybody other than Vladdy, and obviously George and Varsho, because those are, and Bo, I guess, if you keep them, everybody else, their jobs are up for grabs. You can go sign anybody this offseason that plays a job of some rookie that's doing well on our team right now, because that guy I know is a more guarantee than this guy. And it's just the way it is. And they're young enough where if let's say you go sign, I'm talking about Alex Bregman right now. I'm referring to a third baseman. We have a ton of third baseman guys on our team. Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, Elvis Martinez. They could all potentially play some third base for the Blue Jays. But if you go add an Alex Bregman, I know exactly what I'm getting from Alex Bregman. Those guys are young enough where they can go find another hole in the lineup if they choose to do so with their bat being so good.
Dude, I've always thought that too. Like when you have these younger prospects, like an Addison Barger, for instance, I think I brought it up the other day saying, well, if we did get Alex Bregman, maybe we could kind of like, move him over to the second base. And it's like, oh, well, he hasn't played second base in a while. It's like, who fucking cares, man? I mean, like, if you are somebody like an Addison Barger and you hear, okay, this locked-in guy who's, won several World Series and has several All-Stars is coming over here to take third baseman, clearly that is no longer my position. I'm going to work my ass off in the offseason to get to become the best possible either second baseman or corner outfielder that I can so that I can be useful to this ball team.
Right.
I think that these young guys want to be up here. They will do what is necessary to make that happen. And, transitioning and whatever, like, they'll do that. Even Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is kind of willing to move over to third base right now. He was a third baseman, then he was a first baseman for years, and now all of a sudden it's like, you know what, actually, maybe we need you over a third.
Yeah,
right? So even that guy is willing to do it.
Yeah, because you got Spencer Horwitz coming up, and like maybe in this free agency, you've got a few first basemen out there, like a Pete Alonso that could potentially maybe be a free agent acquisition. I don't even care how you do it. Defense, we have enough in the outfield. We did that experiment. I'm not prioritizing defense no longer. It's the bats. That's what we need. Speaking of Addison Barger, let's make a little transition here, everybody. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. I see everybody commenting in the chat saying, pay that man. I see someone saying, trade him to the Cubs. Probably a Cubs fan coming in right there. Because I don't think any Blue Jay fan is saying, trade him to the Cubs specifically.
I'll tell you guys right now, the only reason that you trade away Vladimir Guerrero Jr., this is my thinking, and I've been saying this for a while, is in the first 2 months of this offseason, you dive deep into those extension talks. While everybody else is doing playoffs, you're talking to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. deep about the extension. You lay it all on the table. You go back and forth. There is not a day that goes by where you're not on the phone, talking to his agent, making it happen. And if by the end of that, when you've reached what is your limit on your bankroll, and that is still not good enough, and you know that he will not accept that, and you can't push past that, then you can decide to trade him because now you know that it's impossible for you to sign him.
Potentially. I'd also wait till at that point, you might want to keep, if you are trying to compete in 2025, right? If that's still the play, then you still got to keep him, and then wait till the free agency hits, have him realize, hey, maybe I'm not worth $400 million, because whatever ridiculous amount that you're kind of referencing here, and then be like, okay, now he's going to come back to earth a little bit.
Okay. I personally, in my opinion, you trade him, you get the value. You could still, in your scenario, you could still sign him in free agency. You could still do that.
I still feel like trading him is like saying F you and like, you're not coming back.
Listen, if he's not, here's the thing though, if he's unwilling to sign a contract, for less than $400 million, then that's him saying that. In my opinion, if you're unwilling to do that, then it's like, okay, well, we've done everything that we can do right here from a Toronto Blue Jays organization, and personally, I think that you should pay him whatever he wants. But if you reach your limit and you go, actually, it's just impossible for us to do this anymore, then you've left us no other option. You've left it, sure, we can have you on this team, but, if we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the team right now, and we're not making playoffs.
Right,
it's like, if we're really trying to be competitive then it's like you'd have to sign so many guys for this 1 year of maybe. I think you trade him away and you try to build something else.
Yeah, that would be the logical move. Realistically, I actually don't see a reality where they trade him this offseason. No matter how the contract negotiates, I think that would just be stabbing your fan base in the face.
Well, you guys let us know, man. You guys let us know what you think down below. That's the only scenario where I could see it happening. Adam doesn't even think so. You let us know your thoughts down below. Addison Barger, let's talk about him. He could be part of the future, everybody. Had him on the show before. Quality human being and quality baseball player. Last, 15 days or so, Addison Barger been tearing the top off of the baseball. .333 batting average. OPS over 1. I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing right here.
Yeah, and again, kind of complimenting the young guys doing well. We were saying it before. He's doing great, and this is a great sign because he actually made the adjustments, and that's what I'm really looking for. It's not just like, oh, how all of a sudden he's getting hot. No, he actually made the adjustments. I've been noticing in his swing too. Earlier in the season, it was violent, it was exciting, it was loud, and it was a lot of swing and miss. And he was grounding out, getting weak contact, popping it up. And now you're starting to see a lot quieter before the pitch is dealt, a lot more calm and selective. And it has a little bit more of a game plan, it feels like, at the plate for Addison Barger. And you're seeing that transition to results. So what I take from this is he made an adjustment, and it worked. Now, of course, like many young guys, they're going to have, and many MLB players, there's going to be a readjustment on the pitcher side of things. What that is, we don't know yet, because right now he's killing it. He's hitting everything that's in the zone. So it's a great sign. I'm excited for him to move forward and see that next adjustment because, again, small sample size. He's only had 161 at-bats, which is not a lot. So I need to see another full season of Barger before I can get really bought in for him being a part of the future. But he's earned another job in 2025 for me.
Well, I think for me, I want him to finish off strong. Finish off strong, finish the season strong, because you still look at the season-long numbers. They don't look great. Now, I will say that a large part of this season, he was bouncing back and forth, which is a very tough thing to do, bouncing back and forth from the majors to the minors. And it's really tough when you come up, you play 12 games in the majors, and then you get sent back down, and then you come up, you play 15 games in the majors, then sent back down, and now he's doing this. So that's a very tough thing to do. So those season-long numbers are certainly skewed by that. Recently, it's been very good. You still have 20 games left. Toronto Blue Jays regular season, 21 games, left of regular season baseball. Finish off strong, so then everybody in the offseason can look back and go, okay, you know what? And that last month and a half of baseball, Addison Barger was a guy. You know, there can be no questions about that last month and a half. We can go and we can say, you know what? Whatever you were doing there, that is really good. That's something for you to build off of. That's going to instill me with a lot of confidence. Kind of similar to a David Schneider level situation. Yeah. And then hopefully you can make that adjustment next year as well. I think Addison Barger is, I don't want to say locked in for a starting spot next year, but I do think that he will assuredly be on this ball team unless we go out and fucking go crazy in free agency and just sign everyone.
That's the thing. And you know what's funny is you bring up David Schneider. I think even though the numbers are a lot less, I think I'm a little bit more excited about Addison Barger just because it's different how they finished off their years last year. You remember David Schneider came up for a month, was incredible, one of the best hitters in baseball, had that amazing debut. Then he ended the month with a 400 OPS because they made the readjustment to him and he could not adjust. And now we're seeing this season, cannot make the adjustment back, at least yet. Whereas Addison Barger came up, struggled, he adjusted, and now he's finding success. So for me, that is a better attributes for a long-term MLBer versus David Schneider.
No, I agree with that, right? And we also got to factor in Addison Barger was a top prospect for the Toronto Blue Jays too.
Correct.
You know? So it's like
more skills. There's a reason for that, right?
There should just inherently be and this is no slight to David Schneider. Again, folks, I love David Schneider, but there should inherently be, just more, I guess, talent with Addison Barger than there is, or potential with Addison Barger than there is or was with David Schneider. Again, still 21 more games, so you never know. So maybe he could really struggle and then all of this is mute. I would like to see him finish off strong. So then, you can really look at Barger and go, all right, this can be a guy moving forward.
Yeah, and moving forward as well, there could be some more future guys coming around the corner because this was a big surprise. We all knew Arjun Nimmala was doing so well in the minor leagues, and we talked about him on the Blue Jays Today show a couple weeks ago, saying, hey, keep an eye out for this guy. Obviously, he's not coming up anytime soon, but it's good to note that he's killing it right now, and him, and as well, Alan Roden were minor league players of the month for August. Obviously, Arjun Nimmala, I think we could have taken a guess. He was doing so well. He hit 5 homers, 17 RBIs, led the league in hits and total bases. That's phenomenal for the young kid at 19 years old. Or is he 18 right now? Someone correct. I think I drafted him at 17. 18 years old. Phenomenal. And then over in the International League AAA, Alan Roden being the minor league player of the month. Well, you check that out. He is our, I think, 13th ranked prospect. Yes, he is. 13th ranked prospect. He's batting .354 with an OPS of 1.005 and led the league again in hits and total bases. Again, lots of exciting stuff. Alan Roden I actually picked to be the David Schneider of this year, looking at last offseason. But he isn't on the team yet, but it's good to know that we have somebody down there cooking that's doing very well.
Yeah, of course, right? The prospect system has struggled for a long period of time. We were talking right when we were discussing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. about how few guys on the Toronto Blue Jays that we draft and we develop, come up and are here long term and have strong careers with us. And big problem with that is just we don't have that many guys that draft and come up at all, really. Well, it's like a lot of the players that we home grow just don't actually pan out that well. We need that to change if we are going to be a competitive ball team moving forward, right? We've watched this team go out and spend all the money on veteran pitchers and, veteran hitters and a lot of stuff for the past 3-4 years. The results haven't been there, right? They just haven't been there. So sure, we can keep kind of doing this thing, kicking the can down the road, going out and signing all these, Bregmans and Santanders and stuff, which is great, don't get me wrong, but eventually you're going to need some cheap, young talent to come up here and just fucking smack. Play some good baseball. The Houston Astros have it. The New York Yankees have had it. The LA Dodgers have had it. The Atlanta Braves, the Arizona Diamondbacks. You think about all these squads who are young and exciting and doing stuff right now. It's because they get these guys to come up. Yes, they also spend money, but they have these younger dudes who are still contributing time and time again. Padres, Jackson Merrill. Fuck, that guy is going to bring them to the postseason right now,
literally.
And they're paying him what, $700,000 a year, We need those guys as well. Addison Barger could be one of them. Arjun Nimala, if Bo Bichette's not on this team, long term, if he's not on this team past next year or whatever his situation looks like, Arjun Nimala being the shortstop of the future, that could be a real thing.
Now, I wonder if the Blue Jays should get ahead of this, because you mentioned all these great teams, and Atlanta Braves was one of them, and they did Double-A did a little run of signing these young guys to long-term deals for a little bit cheaper. They did it with Jackson Chourio as well over on the Milwaukee Brewers. I wonder if you get ahead of this, and if Arjun Nimala, if you're really planning for maybe this guy to be a big part of your team, do you get ahead of it and you sign him to a 7-year Batters contract, $50 million or something like that?
No, you don't, and the reason is because most of the time when you're doing that, you're looking at pretty much sure things when it comes to we're talking top 30 prospects and all of MLB type thing, right? And then it's all right, Jackson Chourio, we are pretty damn at the very, even if this guy sucks, even if Jackson Chourio sucks, he's still going to be on the team because he's got so much prospect pedigree. Yeah. We are going to ride with this guy for at minimum 3 years. Even if he's terrible, right? You're just gonna do it because he's your top guy. He was the second overall ranked prospect, I think, in all of baseball. So it's you're gonna do it. If Arjun Nimala gets himself into a position later down the line, if he's 20, 21 years old and he's creeping himself into those, top 50, top 40 prospects, and he's still looking extremely good, he's developing to everything that you hope for, and at that point you still don't have that locked-in shortstop, then yes, I think that you can make that argument. You can go, all right, we are feeling very confident that we are going to rock and roll with this guy for several seasons in a row. He is really damn good. Let's buy in right now.
Yeah, because, obviously it's so early, guys. He's 18 years old, but the fact that he's 18 years old and doing what he's doing against guys who are older than him, it's quite impressive to see at this level, winning minor league player of the month. I mean, hell, when was the last time? I'm not comparing him to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won minor league player of the month after minor league player of the month, and he just kept winning. He won minor league player of the year, before he came up for the Blue Jays. So seeing signs like that at a very young age is very encouraging. Obviously, it's A-ball. He's got to get called up to another level. I think we got to wait and see. But if it is around that area where this is a really highly touted prospect, he is our first rounder. If we all kind of got to remember that. He was a big draft pick for us. So if he is developing into maybe a top prospect of all of MLB, maybe look at that. Maybe as an option, because then it might help you down the line.
Sure. Oh, of course it's going to help you down the line, right? And I think that, you look at these kind of the high schoolers and these younger guys get drafted, not as sexy the second that they get drafted, but they can get real sexy if they start panning out like Arjun Nimala is right now. I think he is our 5th or 6th ranked prospect in our system, I imagine, with more players of the month, minor league players of the month, every one that you rack up, that is going to start skyrocketing you up the prospect pedigree rankings right now because you are looking really good. So I love to see what we're seeing out of Arjun Nimala. We just need more and more and more of that from this prospect system.
Now, we do need less and less and less of some struggling guys on our ball team for next year. Because next year, guys, like we all know, we're trying to be competitive. And there's a few Blue Jays that we are looking at a Jays Journal right now, and they're saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't bring these guys back for 2025 just because, hey, these guys aren't helping the ball team. Maybe their contracts aren't looking good. So I wanted to kind of walk through a few guys and talk about them. Every time we start a Blue Jays Today live stream, we're watching the game live, and Zach Pop comes into a ball game. The chat absolutely explodes. Nobody wants to see Zach Pop in a ball game. But the unfortunate thing is, We don't have any guys to kind of replace Zach Pop on this ball team right now, but maybe we can next year. Maybe we can do it next year because Zach Pop ain't helping this team. This is the article I'm talking about in Jays Journal. 5 players who are entering their final days of Blue Jays, and Zach Pop is one of them over here. He's number 2 on this list. I mean, the fact is that this guy's got a 6 ERA, 6.02 ERA in 43 1/3 innings pitched. He's pitched 51 games. 51 games and has only gone 43 1/3. So what does that tell you? He's not completing his assignments when he's going out on the bump. We all traded for Zach Pop, and we thought, hey, maybe this guy could be a future of our team. Maybe he can help the bullpen later on down the line. He has a lot of control, but it feels like that control we got to end sooner rather than later because this isn't helping my team. What are your thoughts on Zach Pop, and how the hell do we even get rid of this guy if we have nobody else to pitch?
Well, I'm going to talk about Zach Pop, and I'm going to refer to him as a larger issue here, right? Because it's not just a Zach Pop for me. It is multiple players. It is a Ryan Burr. It is a Zach Pop. It's tons of guys. It's a fucking Eric Swanson. It's, send this bullpen into the goddamn sun and don't think twice about it, right? We need a complete overhaul of all of that bullpen. Many of the guys in there have not hit their expectations, have not done well for whatever reason, it might be. Trevor Richards, gone. Tim Meza was like one of our elites, terrible, cut. Eric Swanson, God only knows what happened to him. Jordan Romano, RIP. We have no idea if that guy's going to even be able to play baseball next year, let alone what caliber he is going to be performing at.
Yeah.
This bullpen is decimated, and many of the players, other than Genesis Cabrera, who sadly I've had to come around on, and Chad Green, who has been struggling recently, but we still got to ride with them. Other than those 2 guys, effectively everyone can go. Really, like it's as simple as that. This needs a complete overhaul. If you think that you can turn some of these guys into, serviceable players, maybe a Brendan Little.
Yeah, Brandon Little's probably the one guy.
Right? Like I'm still not sold on it, but maybe, then I guess you got to keep that dude around. But majority of this bullpen needs a complete overhaul if you have any hope at all of being competitive next year.
Yeah, and it's not like we have guys bursting in the minor leagues that are like ready to come up anytime soon. I mean, the one guy you could probably argue is like Adam Macko. He could be a guy that could come up in the bullpen. He's a left-hander that could do it. But there's really not. I mean, relief pitchers aren't really going to be highly touted prospects, but there's not a lot of promise here. I mean, we're literally seeing us pick up people like Tommy Nance and Yeri Rodriguez and Jose Caz just because we need people to pitch because there's nobody else. So it's a really big problem. And I've really been speculating on it. There's so many different ways you can address this bullpen. I mean, what do we got to sign? 3-4 guys this offseason just to fill in holes?
Well, regardless of how you do it, okay, yeah, you sign 2, you trade Bo Bichette for 1, and then you pick up someone from some other team that you see a lot of promise in. I don't really care how you do it, but just fucking make it happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the turnaround we are, other than the Rockies, the worst bullpen in all of baseball. And I say that because Rockies is just like, they're awful. They're in the 4 miles up high and the balls fly out of the ballpark. So I really think we are one of the worst bullpens of a long time. How do you turn that bullpen all of a sudden into a great bullpen? I mean, we went the other way last offseason. We went from a great bullpen to a bad bullpen. How do we do that? It's a mystery to me. Well, it's going to be a massive project, and if that happens, that project needs to be studied.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you got to spend a lot of money. You got to make some smart additions. You got to have Pete Walker get in his goddamn bag if he's even going to be the guy. You got
in his bag, or he's got to be sober.
Or I guess he's got to be.
He's got to lock in.
Yeah, he's got to be sober and in his bag. He's got to do both things right there. So yeah, it's going to be a lot for sure. But there's no way, I almost hate it when people are like, oh yeah, we're trying to be competitive next year. That's great, but there's no way that you're going to do it with those guys in the pen. It's never going to happen.
We've seen it happen in 2021. We had a decent pitching staff, an amazing offense, and we couldn't make the postseason.
Exactly,
our
right?
bullpen
And that's when your offense was best in the league.
Yep.
And you had a Cy Young. right?
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
like you need both of those things to also not make playoffs. And I personally don't see us immediately jumping up to best offense in the league next year and, another Cy Young type season. I don't see that happening. So, I mean, you got to do whatever you can this offseason to just try to get that bullpen to an average level, like to a place where we're not, blowing 6-1 leads. Throw back to that game, right? Like, let's not forget, it was just like a week ago where they legitimately blew, they had a 6-1 lead after the first. Chris Bassitt started giving up run after run after run, and then it was, bullpen, blow, it's no, enough. I'm so over this at this point. Yes, Ryan Burr. Yes, Zach Pop need to be off this team. I don't know who you bring in, but somebody.
Realistically, I think the core that you start with, I mean, you got to hope Jordan Romano's going to be good next year. You got to hope he's healthy. You got to hope Eric Swanson bounces back. I mean, we invested in this guy. You got to hope he bounces back. Chad Green, I feel pretty confident. You got to hope Henderson Cabrera has another good year. There you go. You got 4, right? Maybe Brandon Little's a 5th. So if you add in 3, maybe you got some, but that's the thing with bullpen. You never know who's going to have a good year, so you got to bring in quality guys. And I'll throw my 2 cents out there. I still think Eric Swanson's a quality player. He has a proven track record. This is a really off year for him. Obviously, there's some personal matters. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but this was an off year. But if I'm going to invest in a quality pitcher and a long track record, yeah, Jordan Romano, Eric Swanson, Chad Green, like they've got it. And then you got to hope Hennessy's gives you something. And then you got to hope Brandon Little pops off. And then you got to invest in some free agents. And that's what it's got to be. Invest in quality players. Hope they have good years.
All right. Well, that's the game plan right there. We do want to talk about one more person on that article that Jay's Journal brought up. I want to talk a little bit about Chris Bassitt. They brought this up there. And again, this is 5 players that they think, days are numbered here on the Toronto Blue Jays. So take that how you will. Chris Bassitt, big conversations around getting traded away at the trade deadline. I thought they should do it. I was screaming at the top of my lungs for weeks, actually, that they should do it. I feel like I was like the furthest in that camp, and then a lot more people started jumping on board, and I was like, yes, we're doing it, and it never happened. And now I'm on the other side of things because now the Jays Journal's bringing up, well, they could trade him away, like he's on the last year of his deal, sure, and I hear all of that. And I still do think that you could give me some strong reasons as to why that might make sense. But I would argue that it's never going to happen because I think that once you've decided not to trade him away at the trade deadline, that was the management saying, we're not trading away this guy, period. We are going to rock and roll with him for 2025.
Yeah, and especially that was when his value was at his highest. And now, if you did decide to turn it around, now we're going to trade him. Well, now you got to reconsider because his value's not that high anymore. He's actually been struggling mightily in the second half, everybody. He has a 5.98 ERA in his last 9 starts. That's definitely concerning. That's a large sample size there for Chris Bassitt. And you also got to remember, again, age is always going to come around for everybody. He is 35 years old. He will be turning 36 years old. He plays a very different style of pitching that we're not used to. He's got different pitches. He throws in the corners. But if he's not hitting his spots, you are seeing what's going to happen to him. And this is this is his worst year since 2016. Age might be coming in, but you got him for one more year. And I think that's the Blue Jays are like, okay, well, if we're not going to get a lot from him, I mean, how many people are going to pay or trade for, how much are you going to get really in a trade back for a $20 million guy who has a 4.30 ERA? Signs of age are coming in. Probably not a lot. You probably got to hope that you get one more year out of him for next year.
No, I think that we are assuredly keeping Chris Bassitt, guys. I mean, I don't see him going at all. I understand why maybe it could make sense, but it's one of those ones I just don't think is going to happen. They've made their choice, and then on top of that, does anyone even want to pay for that contract? Right. I don't know. Bassitt's going to be here in 2025. We just got to hope that he bounces back.
Just got to hope, guys. And let's hope that we bounce back this weekend after getting swept by the Philadelphia Phillies. That was a quick little hello, get your ass beat, and then goodbye. Thanks for coming and beating my ass at the Rogers Center.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Phillies are a legitimate contender and could go to the World Series and win it this year. And another team that is a contender, they're kind of fighting with the Mets right now, so they're trying to play some good ball, is the Atlanta Braves. And we're going over to Atlanta to face them. No comfy at our home beds to sleep in. No, we were going to be on the road at Atlanta. And it's another tough series, guys. They got some good pitchers in this one tonight, which we're not going to go live for, guys, as many of you know. Nick, Green Bay Packers fan. Gotta watch the game.
Damn
Sao
right,
Paulo.
everybody. Damn
It's
right.
gonna be a great
Brazilian
game.
Jiu-Jitsu style. We're going to fuck up the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me tell you, what the Blue Jays could not do in this previous series, the Green Bay Packers will accomplish against the NFL's version of Philadelphia. So that is why we'll not be live right there, everybody.
There you go, guys. So in this one, they don't have the pitchers, but just looking at the rotation, unless they call up Jake Bloss or something like that all of a sudden, which I don't think they're going to do, it's going to be Kevin Gausman up against Max Fried. And Fried lately, I mean, this man looking. Oh yeah, he's been kind of scuffling a little bit, but overall, the Atlanta Braves team ERA has been #1 in baseball in the last 15 days. So you got to count for that. Really good bullpen, but Kevin Gausman's been absolutely doing well. Last 7 games, 2.91 ERA. He's looked like vintage Kevin Gausman. I think even in the last 4 games, it's even better than that. Good pitching matchup here, honestly. Max Fried versus Kevin Gausman. What do you got in this one?
This is a tough one, man. The pitching matchup feels pretty similar. However, I mean, when we're looking at those records, they're actually effectively reversed, right? They're 76 and 64. We're 67 and 74. So, obviously the Atlanta Braves just know how to win a ball game a little bit better than the Toronto Blue Jays. Fried is a quality pitcher. I'm going to give the edge to Atlanta here.
Yeah, I really think this is probably one of our best chances to win a game in this series. But I am going to go with Max Fried, just the veteranness over there.
Also, too, in Atlanta, on the road. Kind of a tough one there.
It is a tough one. Before we move on to the next one, let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this Blue Jays Today show.
Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Betway, everybody, for being absolutely phenomenal. It is the place to go if you have any interest at all in betting on the Toronto Blue Jays or alternatively betting on the Green Bay Packers, everybody. We got a bet for both of them this evening, guys. Under 7.5 on the runs in the Blue Jays versus Atlanta game. 2 very good pitchers, 2 guys who are feeling it right now. So you got to think defense will prevail. And then we're just going straight money line. Straight money line with the Green Bay Packers over the Philadelphia Eagles. So there you have it, folks. If you want to ride with the boys, then hop on. That's like 4 timesing your money.
Literally.
If both of those things hit, or alternatively, if you just like one of them, you can take just one of them as well, and you'll kind of 2 times your money there. So Betway, phenomenal. Go check them out.
Yeah, it's already starting to change the line. I always love when I pick a line and it starts to move.
And you know that it's moving in the direction that you think it should
go in. So get on it if you are sports bettors, and best of luck. Bet responsibly, everybody. Moving on to the Saturday game, you're going to have Jose Barrios, La Maquina, who again has been phenomenal. Last 7 days, he's looked like Cy Young again. Jose Barrios against Schwellenbach. Schwellenbach, but he's been pretty good. The record doesn't show it. Lately, he's been pretty dominant. I think because Friday's game's a bit of a split. You got 2 very good pitchers on the mound again. We're going to win one of them. I think we'll squeak out 1 win, and I'm going to say we win this Saturday.
I like it as well, man. I just, you know what? Something about the name Schwellenbach to me.
Schwellenbach.
That's all I got. I feel like that's a hittable guy. I feel like, I know he's got a 3.69 ERA, but Schwellenbach, are you really going to let Schwellenbach, come in and cook you? I don't think it's going to happen, guys. Blue Jays are going to win this one. We're not going to get swept in this series like we did against Philadelphia. However, I do still think we're going to lose the series.
Yeah, because you
Final
got
game here.
Chris Sale up against Yariel Rodriguez, everybody.
Yeah.
This one is going to be a dominant performance by the Atlanta Braves on both sides of the ball. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Chris Sale is likely going to win the Cy Young. He is like a heavy favorite at this point to do so. I mean, and he's well within his right to do so, right? He's 16-3. I know that win-loss record, again, like, you don't look at that too much, but 16-3, that's like, come on. Like, that's a lot of wins, right? He's got an ERA of 2.46. Strikeouts.
Oh my God.
206.
Unreal.
Again, if you're on Betway, take over on the Blue Jay player strikeouts. We are going to strike out because Chris Sale's just in his bag right now, folks. Like, the guy has been phenomenal this season. This is an Atlanta Braves win. He's, he does it like 90% of the time, or whatever 16-3 works out to be. I don't know what that math is, but a lot. So, yeah, we're going to lose the series. We win the one on Saturday, though.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. We'll get one win, and we'll feel good about it. Our record will not really improve, I guess, to 68-76.
All right. On the hunt
our way.
for 69 wins, guys. We could do it this weekend if our prediction is wrong.
That's right.
I got a sneaky feeling that we're going to get there next week, just based on how this series goes, folks. But you let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. contract reports. What's going on with Addison Barger, what we should do with this bullpen, and then this upcoming series as a whole. Thank you to the 100 people who are tuning in right now. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button on the way out and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And as always,
Go Jays, go!
And go Pack, go.
Go Cardinals! Go Cardinals!